So we're going to be putting together a homemade pizza today. It's got lots of advantages over store-bought pizza. It's a little cheaper. Actually, it's significantly cheaper. This will probably cost somewhere less than $3, maybe $2.50 to make. Right here we have 2 cups of flour. About a half cup of that is high gluten. I prefer to use organic flour because it's coming to my attention that lots of different kinds of flours contain MSG. Right now I'm just adding some spices. I like to add some really basic, but still something that kind of make the dough a little more hearty. Like some oregano, some salt. Salt helps it stay together. Don't forget salt. Garlic powder. I like garlic. I might actually put some garlic on as a topping. Huh. Yeah. Maybe a little red pepper just to spice it up a little bit. And some black pepper. I like spicy food. Whoa, that's a lot of pepper. It's all good. Just added some spices. And now we're going to add the part that makes it react and rise. So we want about a tablespoon of yeast. It's about that much, maybe a little more. And some sugar to feed it. And as the yeast gives up a waste product, which is basically carbon and alcohol that evaporate and makes the dough rise. But it's also good for your gut. We're going to add some liquid to actually some oil. That's about a tablespoon. And a cup of water. You want it to be not very warm at all. That's a mistake that some people make in making pizzas. I mean, I've made it before. It's just not that big of a deal, but if you get your water too hot, it'll kill your yeast, because they are temperature sensitive. And then you just want to stir it a little bit and get the dough going into it, or the flour into the water. And then you want to knead it eventually by hand once this starts to thicken up. I guess you could call this kneading, but mostly I'm just trying to soak up all the flour. And there's a certain kind of texture and toughness. Like once you start to let it absorb all the flour, and you get it in your hands, and it's kind of sticky like that, it's still not quite ready. You want to have it so that when you pull the ball out, like if you were to let go of the ball, it would just drop and not leave a whole lot of this. But okay. Yeah. So we have our dough at a pretty nice consistency. It's a little stickier than where I like it, but it's still pretty workable. It's not gonna just come apart in your hands. So what I like to do with that is I like to try and fold it in on itself and make it as much of a ball as I can so that it will spread pretty evenly when it hits the bottom of this. But before I put it in, what I'm going to do is roll it in a little bit of oil, and this lets it pull away from the bowl really easily after you've let it rise. So rising is going to be the next step, and you'll know that it's risen or that it's big enough when it's about twice the size of this ball. So just enough oil to coat it. And I'm going to cover this in a wet towel and maybe set it near a heater or a vent, but yeah. So our dough is risen to about twice the size, and you're going to see why we coated this guy in olive oil. It keeps it from dehydrating, but as you can see, it pulls away really easily from the bowl. And that means it's going to be really easy for me to work. So I just kind of take it in my hand and I kind of palm it out. As you can see, I'm kind of creating a crust as I go. And when I get it to a certain size, which will be coming up here in just a sec, I'm going to start moving it along my arms, figure 8 fashion, but I'm pulling down on my wrist, and that's going to stretch the dough out a little bit. So got about that much dough, and we can spread it out a little further on the pan too. So just put that guy on there and just spread it out by hand. There you go. Maybe get a little more crust on that side. And that's pretty even. So what I'm going to do now is make a white pizza. So much like how you'd spread tomato sauce, just put a little bit on. It's about 2 or 3 tablespoons. Grab a spoon. And I would spread tomato sauce in a very similar fashion, just kind of with the underside of a spoon. It rolls along pretty easily. And then shred some cheese. I prefer shredded cheese because store-bought shredded has all these different preservatives in it. So I would just shred cheese over this and put whatever toppings I want. Probably going to be garlic or pepper, maybe pineapple. A lot of people don't like pineapple, but you know what? They're not making this pizza. Alright, so here's the pizza. It's just about ready to go in the oven. When you pull it out of the oven, what you want to look for is that a whole side is going to come up. This is kind of a corner and it's kind of hard to get a grip on it. But like when the whole whole half of the entire pizza comes up, like this much of it will. And that's when you'll know that it's actually done. Like the bread, the dough, you know, not just when the cheese is bubbling in the middle. That's a pretty good sign to check it. But otherwise, just ready to put it in the oven, 350 degrees. I would say 12 to 16 minutes, and it should be pretty damn tasty. I'm using foil on this because the bottom of this is Teflon, and I'm not too huge on Teflon. But anyway, if I were to lift this, you can see that's only a corner of it. That's what a not done pizza looks like. What we have here, hopefully, is a nice finished product. I'm going to close this oven up so it will retain some heat. And I've greased the bottom of this so that it should pull away pretty easily. And now you see that a whole side comes up, as opposed to that little corner from before where you can see it's torn a little bit. That is a done pizza.